Legal advisors, it's a law firm actually, as she saw the area that people accessing law. She specializes in educational and social entrepreneurship. She obtained a BCom in law and management, and then she did postgraduate in LLB at Wits University. She is also a debate coach. She has also been conducting trainings and motivating others for almost 10 years in high schools. Tinyiko is the president of Pan-African Schools Debating Council, which a lot of local international buy-in form institutions like Coca, Constitutional Hill, and City of Johannesburg. She was also part of the team that launched Wits Branch of Students for Law and Social Justice. Tinyiko understands the struggle of running two businesses, but she also has a positive attitude towards her work. So let's kindly clap hands for her and welcome her on stage. One more time. Let's kindly clap hands for her.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I know it's been a long day. I'm glad everyone at least has just had some lunch, which could either be uri or we still have energy. As you heard from my bio, I really am more into social entrepreneurship, and I have listened to a few of the speakers that were here today, and so I will deviate a lot from what they spoke about, mainly because I believe they were speaking about entrepreneurship in the capitalist sense, right? And if ever we want to build ourselves as the South African youth, if ever we want to actually be a developed country, it's best that we do entrepreneurship in the social sense, right? So I'll just read an So I'll just read an excerpt from Walter Rodney's How Europe Underdeveloped the World, right? Just to give you an idea of what I'll talk about. Development in human society is a many-sided process. At the level of the individual, it implies increased skills and capacity, greater freedom, creativity, and self-discipline, responsibility, and material well-being, right? So all of those things are important for developmental of human beings in society, and these are things that actually give you a good quality of life, not just, working and seeing, oh, look, we have a great GDP, but rather the things that develop not only the society, but develop you as individuals, right? Some of those are virtually moral categories and are difficult to evaluate, depending as they do on the age in which one lives, So one's class origins and one's personal code of what is right and what is wrong, right? However, what is indisputable is that the achievement of any of those aspects of personal development is very much tied in with the state of the society as a whole. And that's where social entrepreneurship comes in, right? Everything is tied to the state of a society as a whole, right? So in order...
Power off.
It's fine. I'm used to using my voice. It's the benefits of debate and benefits. So in order for you to actually have a flourishing business in any society, the society has to cater for your needs, right? So yes, we might want to buy black, and we might want to build black, right? But if that buy black and build black is in a society that is very capitalist focused, right? Which means that it's very consumerism geared, then our efforts don't go far, right? And then you get that example, right? Na 30-20. Those used to be places that were owned by people who lived in the community, right? That was pre Protea Gardens Mall, right? So
yes, because these things were in our community, we went and we supported people from our community. Now, when you have a capitalist organization, which has even many branches, coming into the black area, right, it chips away from buy black. Why? Because it has the market power to undercut anything that you do, right? Which is partly why I'm not a practicing attorney. I run a legal consultancy. I'm not a practicing attorney, right? I'm not trying to undercut anyone, but because of there are terms that come with practicing the law, which exclude a lot of people who also can't get free legal services, because you have to be poor to get free legal services. Ne? And then if you're here in the middle, which is majority of South Africans, you have to find the money somewhere. And there's a minimum amount that every lawyer can charge. They can't charge under, because then it's unfair competition for others, right? And then the rest you can afford, right? So if you're not here, if you don't have disposable income, if anything happens, even if you're not clientele legal, sometimes they'll help you. Sometimes they'll just send one letter and hope for the best, right? So if you're not there, and if you're not here, it's very hard for you to get legal services. So it's not that I saw a gap in the market, but I went in that because I saw a need to assist those people. So I know there are limitations, that there are certain things I can't do, and I'll have to send them to that lawyer that's going to charge them a lot of money. But I try my best to make sure that they never get to that point, right? Because that's how you try and change the society. You don't change the society by following through with what is happening. It's not even in your DNA, technically speaking, as a black person in Africa, to live that way, to be consumer focused. And the reason it's not even in your DNA is because, for example, imandla akaya kungana either isikhathi ice cream or isikhathi acha lechi chingabekiwa nje as Tupperware, or kuna bodlela la beer, well, not beer per se, but like bodlela maya, let's just set things up as something else, maybe even vase or anything. If even so, none of you have that at home. Just her, she always raises her hands. Thank you. None of you have that at home? Thank you. So the others who don't have that, that's fine. But the point I was trying to make with that is that we are people who never really needed a recycle message, because when you use something, you use it until you can't use it anymore, right? So if you're going to come into a society that uses something until they can't use it anymore, and your goal is to have them continuously buy things, it's going to be hard for you, especially if you're competing with tech that will you know, it will be hard. So if whenever you go with, I'm selling you uniqueness, I'm selling you quality, and this thing you will use it until you can't use it anymore, or until your grandchildren can't use it anymore, that's a selling point for the society that you're living in, right? When you open a restaurant, and you think about all the things that they eat. Because the KFC now are thinking about the things that we eat, which is why and all of those things, right? So really, that's what a true, you know, especially for a youth day talk, that's what true entrepreneurship as a youth of South Africa should look like. And even if you don't get into entrepreneurship, even if you don't open a business, right? When you join a business, right? Because you are the labor of that business, and they do need you to survive. They, yes, very much, you know, you are disposable because there's another Tembi there. But the fact of the matter is they need all the Tembis. So if you don't speak up and you say, what can we do, right? Then you're not getting to the development that you want for the country, right? We're sitting here where the youth of today, if you go and apply for an internship, you get paid what my mother got paid. My mother. It's what you are earning as a salary. She could work in that internship and not only earn the money, You know, use that money to pay for university fees, use that money for transportation, use that money to buy jackets that are pretty, use that money to even just go out on lunches. When you go for an internship, you don't get that money because it's not our economy. It's not our economy. Because when a white person who's as equal as possible to you goes for an internship, they get a hell of a lot more because it's their private sector, right? So I'm not necessarily saying build a parallel economy, but I'm saying when you want to open a business, remember that you are in an underdeveloped country. I know that we are semi-developed or even developed sometimes. We are none of those. We are underdeveloped because we are in a system that relies on poverty. Capitalism relies on poverty. You are unemployed not because there aren't enough things for you to do. And we're doing roadshows about youth must be entrepreneurs and do this and that, acting as though there aren't enough things for us to do. There are enough things for us to do. But because we are in an economic space that requires some of us, we must just be sitting idle, then that's where now we try all these other means, right? But sometimes you must be wary. You don't want to create, because if you want to grow yourself even as an entrepreneur, you don't want to be creating unnecessary competition on certain things, you know? Like, you don't want to now me, I have decision fatigue because I'm like, yo, do you understand? You don't want that. You want to think, okay, what else could I do that is needed? Not that makes money, because that's the problem, is you're going into it and you're like, what makes money? It's not what makes money, it's what is needed. Because if you do something that is needed, even in your toughest months, there will be someone who will knock, because whatever service or good you're providing is needed, right? So you won't even need to go through hoops and things, right? Because you identified, you said, this is what is missing in my society, and this is what I need to do to make my society better, right? And now I put it in their hands, because I've seen this what they need, I'm providing them this good and or service, and now I put it in their hand, let's see how they do it, right? And that's how your business will just grow organically, because you are providing something that people, not only want, but also need, right? And also you have that push, because passion doesn't always push you. I won't lie to you guys. I will not lie to you guys. I have passion in both debating and human rights law. There are days where I'll be in bed and I'm like, I don't want to get up. I don't want to do it. I'm tired. Because there are times where I'm like, the people I'm helping are just being ungrateful, and I can't do it. I just have a breakdown, and I just sit there, I just open my computer and I'm like, okay. I have so many deadlines, today? Okay, let's see. Nope, let me take a nap. Sometimes that happens, right? It happens. And it's not passion that's going to take you out of that space. Because passion is you-centered. Passion is something that comes from within you. You need an external drive to keep you going when times are tough. You need an external drive. You need that external motivation. You need a circle that will understand what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing. Because not everyone will understand why you're doing what you're doing, right? But if you at least have 2 people who understand when you're down, right? They're the ones who at least can pick you up. Because the others will be like, oh my God, how are you saying? But if you have those people who are like, no, but see what you're doing, continue, push on, that's literally how you grow as a person. But also, you are building a network just by running that business that people require, right? You really are building that network. But your focus shouldn't also be just building the network. Because then you go into spaces like this, and all you're thinking is, what can I get from you? What can I get from you? What can I get from you? Right? Go into spaces.
I'm scared.
Yes,
There was a number about the community. Only get the border.
No, you must go in building a society around you, so that when so when people come to you, right, it's not an instinctive, oh my God, this is why I came to you, what. It will sometimes come out just as a conversation that this person actually has a problem you can help them with. But because you didn't go being pushy, being aggressive, you got that chance to connect with the person, and so the person felt they were heard, and then to promote your services, right? Sometimes, free samples are great. I'm just gonna. But sometimes free samples are great, as I shout you out. Sometimes. So those are my sisters. The other two, but I don't know where they listen to. They said I must shout them out. That's the word. And my brother there at the back, mixologist. That's the word, right? Mixologist. Yeah. He's a mixologist. Actually, I dipped in alcohol again for a while. I just want to pause for a bit. Does anyone have any questions or any clarities? I encourage, yes.
My question is, how do you go about getting through a mental situation with yourself when you are running a business? No one is actually taking yourself like seriously. I'm a stylist, and I really don't.
And you dress people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I really don't think people actually take that forward, or like take that seriously, because they undermine.
Yeah, can I forward it to you? And what's
confidence and things like that. So I was trying to ask Wits, like, how do you get through like the mental state?
Yeah, okay. So his question is about like mental health and when people are asking questions. Thanks for the question. It's like, my life. I haven't branded myself as a mental health activist, but it is part of the things that I do because it falls under human rights. And the thing is, I won't lie to you, when my mental health takes a dip, depending on the severity of the dip, I need to take myself out of people. And by that I mean I need to go reboot at a mental health retreat, as they call them. And it has gotten that bad, but it was not related to that, right? But yes, there are people who sometimes don't understand what you do. For instance, my mom doesn't understand on the debating side of things what exactly I'm doing. And sometimes they try to push me to go back into working as an attorney, right? But I always fight back because I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, but also I think I am fortunate enough to have people who do remind me that I have helped them, you know. And it's not always monetary with how they remind me, but having those people who say, you know what you did for me, you know, has helped me. So when you are in that state, and you're feeling like no one sees the value of what you're doing, even if it's just to dress someone in your house, for instance, or a friend, dress that person and ask for feedback from that person and come back on you this show. I think I put it, how do I look? I watch TV, guys, because I need to distract myself while I'm working. So I watch TV, and I know a lot of TV shows, but not enough. So on how do I look, what they would used to do is, they would, when you're dressed the way you're, I don't even know where they found those people, but I don't know, some of them dressed like they just rolled out of bed, right? And then no, like literally, like, you know when someone just rolls out of bed and they're like, I found this and that, let me wear it and go. So and then they ask strangers just randomly, like, what do you think of this person? Like, how old do you think this person is? Do you think this person is confident? All these random questions about the person, right? And then they do that whole situation where they style the person and everything is done, and then they take the person back to the streets and they ask the same questions, and they have the person see the different feedback, you know? So, in as much as that was being done for that person, right, it does also have a benefit for you as the stylist, because you can see that, no, you did really make a change in this person's life. And if they decide, you know what, I'm gonna continue, you know, dressing myself more appropriately, it will mean, if at any point that person gets stuck, they will contact you and be like, what's happening? Or if somebody else is going somewhere or needs a stylist, they will shout you out, right? So it's those little things that can give you reassurance that what you're doing is indeed something good, and also if it's something that you want to do, like, for the rest of your life. Block the naysayers. We're not all going to blow up, you know. We're not all going to be stylists to a bona. I don't know, is it a stylist she has, or just a designer? I don't know the difference. But we're not all going to be, you know, like stylists to bona, you know. But yeah, there are so many other avenues. You could even be like a personal shopper, for instance, because that's still within the same range, you know. So, and there's a lot of, then date friend, there's a lot of wealthy, lazy people who could use those services, you know. So on those days, you have to use somebody else to pick you up. It's very hard to pick yourself up if you're in the rut. You have to ask for somebody else to pick you up, because the little things that they say help you to be like, oh, okay, you're right, I'm doing, you know, all of those things. But also it mustn't be people who are like, no, you know, it must be someone who can understand, not someone who's going to make you feel worse for being in a rut. I answered. Pleasure. Any other, okay?
Hi. Taking into consideration your perspective on how the system is addressing the middle income bracket, like that, would you advise a young entrepreneur to go through the system and get things the legal way when operating business? For example, getting a business account, getting a business bank account, getting contracts, getting, you know, those type of things.
Firstly, contracts are important. Even verbal agreements, in something, and you're like, yes, that's shisha sold for that. That is a contract, and that is legally binding. Contracts are important, not just in business. Contracts are important if you want to get something out of someone, right? I do advise, depending on the type of business that you're running, that you open a business bank account. Again, depending on the type of business that you're running. Some businesses, while it's still small, doesn't necessarily need a business bank account. And so you can work as long as you know how to separate the funds, but also because it's still the beginning, a lot of the funds that are coming in are mainly your funds that you also need to channel back into the business, you know, like maybe for instance, pay for the cell phone, pay for Wi-Fi, you know, all of those things, right? But as you move on up, then that separation is important because you do have to have financial statements, right, that you report to CIPSI every year. And based on the level that you are in your business, right, it's either CIPSI is gonna say, okay, cool, you've reported, we're happy with that, pay the 150 so that we don't register you, whatever, and the process goes. But as your business grows, the things that you even need to go to give to report, you know, your business and how much it's making and turnover increases, and even that 150 amount increases. So yeah, you do have to go through the right processes. If your business, I'm going to use pardon? No, I wanted to know if they were made from scratch.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were made from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, great. For instance, with this, right? Many designers have a brand. A logo, right? Do you have a logo?
Yeah.
Where's Taylor?
Taylor, come
Guys, I
through.
can't see. I'm also in the brand. Do you have a logo?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a registered logo?
Not registered.
So you don't have a logo. Do you see what I mean? He has a logo, he's gone through the processes, but because you didn't register your logo with the Trademarks Commission, anyone, if somebody tomorrow decides to take your logo and goes and registers it, it's gone, it's not your logo. This is how Bafana had to pay a shop in Hillbrow, if I'm not mistaken, money. Because that shop, I didn't know Bafana. Mara is at TM because he registered with Bafana. And then when Bafana decided, oh no, wait, let's go register the logo, they find out, wait, it already exists. So they literally had to spend millions, right? And this person already knows, oh wait, I have power because this is Bafana, it's a big brand, you know? So Bafana had to spend millions just to buy back their logo from this person. So in those instances, you know, so when you have a logo, you can talk to me afterwards, by the way, if you're interested in registering your logo. When you have a logo, for instance, register your logo. If you've developed a system, let's say there's only one way of tailoring clothes, right? There's only one way. And you've developed a different process of tailoring clothes that doesn't exist anymore. Register that process, right? Because if you don't register that process, if somebody else finds it, you've lost out. They're just going to spread it everywhere, right? Coca-Cola, recipe of Coca-Cola is online. I think they just removed like one item or so, but recipe of Coca-Cola is online, you know, because they registered that. Shape your bottle, that Fanta is registered. You know, that's why no other drink can have that particular shape, because that belongs to just Fanta, you know. So certain legal things you need to go through to secure your business. If you get a contract and you don't understand the contract, seek advice, you know, on what's happening in that contract, so that you don't enter into situations that are potentially harmful to your business, but maybe beneficial to the other people, you know, or things that you didn't understand. Maybe there are obligations that are written there that you have to meet, and because it wasn't explained clearly to you, then you don't know that, and then they're like, oh no, you're in breach, you know. So it's things like that where you do need to go through certain processes to secure your business legally and financial. And also when you're, if for instance, if it's a services business, like the relationships that you have with different people, you need them to be secured. If you're going to go look for funding, please, I beg, nobody ever go and look for funding without an NDA. don't go and look for funding without a non-disclosure agreement. Because you will get there and you will tell them what your business is about, right? And they didn't sign this non-disclosure agreement. And at the end of the day, they're like, we're not interested. Gone your idea. Gone. You told it to them. And you have nothing to protect yourself. It's gone at that point. So yeah, just non-disclosure agreements when it comes to looking for funding. Don't disclose too much information to people that you don't trust. Ever. Always make sure that everything is as safe and as protected as it can be when it comes to your business, both in terms of SARS, in terms of SIPSI, and in terms of the legalities of any agreements that you go through. Are you covered? Any other question?
I'm curious, how do I build a system that can actually help me, be able to stay in bed when I want to stay in bed? Like, I'm tired of waking up in the morning, going to the office, whereas there are people who are looking for jobs out there. Can I be able to hire someone to take that position for me and then just...
I mean, yeah, in a capitalist system, you can. It's exactly what capitalists do. That's exactly what's his name? Elon Musk. Elon Musk just wakes up to troll people on Twitter. He's out here like, he's trolling Twitter and trolling people on Twitter. That's his system. He just used his father's money, used the American government's money, pretended like nobody helped him, took other people's businesses that were his business partners. Now he has all these businesses, some of them that he's acquiring, and really there's absolutely no need for him to do anything. He can just wake up and just...
Yes, so what are the requirements of building that successful system?
So there are very few people who go from rags to riches. Ne? So if you are not born into wealth, you would need to go from rags to riches, or you would need to sell your soul, really. It's very simple. And by sell your soul, I mean as in like, in order to make more money, right? In order to pass a certain threshold of making money. Think of it like this. Making money is like boiling water. Ne? So that you also figure that enough. You've reached it. This is enough. This is the amount of money that is enough for you, right? And your family. It's like loco say matia biride, ne? So it bubbles, so that's enough. But now because you want to make more money, so you keep boiling the water, and the money just, the water turns into steam, right? It just fizzles out. So in order for the water to turn into steam and fizzle out, to go up to you and leave everybody else in the bottom so that they don't get any, you, at every turn, right, even whether it's you're working for someone or it's your own business, at every turn, there's going to be a situation where it's either you do something for money or you keep your morals intact. And the more money you want to make, the more the choices are. You know, for instance, a mining company. They don't really need the things that they're mining. But okay, let's go. So in a mining company, right, does the mining and whatever. But we have the people of Apple with the little earpods and what. Yeah? The batteries that they need to make that, yeah? and the minerals they need to make that, they come from DRC. These people all already know that DRC is a war-torn country, right? So they have to make a decision. Am I going to get these minerals from DRC, or am I just, going to find different minerals to make this? Like, is it really a need, right? So obviously, that's how it goes, right? But then it gets worse. In order to get those minerals, children are the ones who have to mine them out. You can all Google this, by the way, it's out. It's happening like today that children mining. Or what's it? I think. Oh, I forgot the name of the thing, but it starts with an L. So there are children there. So your decision will have to be, in order for my business to grow, and in order for me to have a new product, right? In order for me to be seen as someone who's developing, am I going to exploit these young children, as young as 6, who should be at school? If you pick yes, then that means you get more money, which means that you've built a system for yourself where you really can just roll out of bed, and if you want, someone will dress you, brush your teeth, and all of those things, but it's really not a nice life. It's not. But yeah, that's how you build that system. You have to ask yourself these yes and no questions at every turn. It doesn't always have to be as extreme as the children who are mining there, you know, but there is always a question, right? In order for me as a CEO to get my bonus, I think it's Sibanye. In order for me as a CEO to get my bonus, as Sibanye Mines, at 13,000 for 2021, I have to decide to not pay the miners their bonuses and not give them salary increases. That's exactly what happened. That's why they're protesting right now. But that person is fine. They're comfortable because it's a choice that they made. So that's how.
Our choice.
Yes.
So are you saying if I am doing it myself?
Pardon?
You've just mentioned choice right now. As in, so I want to ask, if I am doing it myself, I'm trying to build a business. You know, sometimes I have to leave the business running and I have to go do my stuff. You know, like there's a whole lot of stuff that we need to do in business. How can I make it how can I build a successful system? You know, I want a system like McDonald's. There are many businesses that are producing burgers, but there's only one burger.
Oh, okay.
And they are international as well. Some businesses, they start off here, Ekasi, but they never, you know, succeed to that point of being international and having their businesses running all over the places. And yeah, while doing other things, because I don't think that I would like to stay in one business. I would also like to do more. You know. So I want to leave my business running.
Okay, you get employees and you pay your employees and they'll work in your business. Because how you work with your employees, that's a business system. How you interact, the company culture that you create, right? You want to start off by having a loyal circle of people. McDonald's didn't start off the way it started off. McDonald's of when it started and McDonald's of today are two different McDonald's, right? Even the food tastes different, right? But because very much that thing of brand, people will be like, oh no, it's McDonald's, I know it, and gravitate towards it, right? And advertising, right? When you compete with McDonald's, you're not competing with burgers. You're competing with a brand. You're not competing with taste. When you compete with taste, you're competing with different categories. You're competing with a brand. You're just competing with the M logo. Because there are people who go to McDonald's who know McDonald's, but they're like, well, I still like the way it tastes. There was a point where it had come out at McDonald's they use horse meat in the beef patties. People didn't really stop going for that long because we eat everything anyways. Yeah, you can be the two last questions. Well, if there's another question.
You were speaking about the taste of the burger. I want to be able to make that same burger in America which I make in South Africa.
You're asking me how do you compete with the capitalist? And the basis of it is you have to, it's either number one, you have a rags to riches story, or number two, you were born into wealth, or number three, you went into a school where all the wealthy people went to. Because the only reason private schools, like the elite private schools, the only reason they are expensive is because the parents are building a network for their children. That's it. They're just building a network for their children. So if the child decides, I don't actually want to go to varsity, they'll be like, oh no, my child actually is interested in doing this. So really, your options, you as someone who doesn't have the circle, doesn't have the money, and doesn't have an exceptional, because you have to have an exceptional skill, a minimal, because you're competing with everyone else here and in the country who's trying to make it in a system that doesn't allow for them to make it. Because in order for you to make it, it means you have to take money away from George Bezos. And George Bezos doesn't want that.
Thank you. I was not here when you were business. So first I would like to ask you, I hear you are in the legal field. So can you please tell me what you do there? Are you an advocate, lawyer, law firm?
I'm a legal consultant.
Legal consultant.
Yes. So I provide, I draft contracts. I provide advice on like going through contracts if there's
I
something
think
you
I
do.
can ask my question.
Pardon?
I think I can ask my question. I wanted to know where you are. Now my question is very simple. Why is it that black lawyers, or those who are studying law who are black, find it very hard to start a business in the corporate, being a corporate lawyer? Most of them are doing ref, most of them are doing criminal law. Why is it very hard? Let's erase the issue of the system. We know that the system...
But it is the issue of the system. I don't know how else you want me to say it to you.
Yes.
If me as a black lawyer wants to go into the corporate space and work as a corporate lawyer, there's a high probability that this firm I want to go into, which might be McDonald's, i.e. multinational, or even if it's a South African local firm, is a white-owned firm. Do you get? So if I am not necessarily needed for the BEE credentials, and I'm not exceptional, why would they hire me?
Okay, so
Or if I'm rowdy.
As a consultant, what do you think is the problem? Let's leave the system, because of most of us, we do fight the system. As a consultant, what have you seen? Is it fear of fighting the system, or is it them not wanting to go to the corporate?
Again, like I said, it's not that they don't want to. I have friends who are trying to leave like the law firms that they're working at to go, because honestly, as like a legal advisor, you earn a lot of money. So I have friends who are trying to go into that route and applying. Some of them are lucky, some of them aren't. The ones that I know were lucky like this are the ones who are working in the big law firms, and because they're working in the big law firms, they would be taken to these companies because they have this thing called secondment. And while they are there, these companies are like, oh, I like the way this person works. I think actually company, give us, law firm, since we give you all this money all the time, give us this person to be our employee. Yeah, actually, yeah. All of the ones that I know got in there like that. Yeah. So because time, I'll just wrap up. If anyone has any other questions, you're more than welcome to ask me questions afterwards. I unfortunately do this for a living. So it really is something that I am passionate about, but also in order for us to grow, one doesn't grow alone. So anyway, where I can either help or impart knowledge, I'll be more than willing. And thank you guys for the questions. They were very lovely.